Good morning, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, we wanted to share a video this morning that came about when we were contacted both by you and by the family of Barbara Higgins, who is an amazing leader in our community, and this video celebrates her life, and we wanted to share it with you this morning.
February is Black History Month. This year, Alachua County would like to take the time to remember one of the county's greatest African American leaders, Barbara Higgins. Mrs. Higgins worked tirelessly to make Alachua County better, whether it was through her church, her career in civil service, or through her volunteer work with the NAACP and the Gainesville Women for Equal Rights during the Civil Rights Movement. Barbara Higgins made a positive impact on Alachua County and touched many lives along the way.
One voice raised, even if softly, can lead a choir. And every person can lead by example and by deed. Not all do. Barbara Higgins did.
I think what we really need is for everyone who's in a position to do the right thing. Now, that's what I think.
I can look up to her. She was, that lady there for us.
Miss Higgins was a person who got things done, and she was this kind of quiet storm type person.
When they were integrating schools, she was right there in the midst of it. When it was time for jobs, she was right there in the midst of it.
When Barbara called, you knew that it was something that was going to be good for the community.
She had a message for everybody. I think that's why we loved her so much.
She was headstrong and knew what needed to be done and should be done.
She had faith in people. I don't care what happened. She still had faith in her, and she was a very, very good person.
Miss Barbara would say, if I could help somebody as I travel this way, then my living will not have been in vain.
I admired her. She just was an icon in my view.
An icon and a seemingly omnipresent voice for positive change through her church, her career, her friendship, her activism.
She was committed to not only to civic, in terms of people doing the civic responsibilities, but also for nonviolent social change.
So what we did was we band together and began organizing little groups that we could talk to them. We felt like it would be better talking than going out and fighting.
She was part of a group of women around Gainesville who were very instrumental in the integration of Gainesville and in the upward movement of people who were trying to get their voices heard.
I met Barbara Higgins in 1956. During that time in Gainesville, the civil rights movement, had not started. People was having a really hard time, and Barbara's mind and my mind was headed in the same direction. We was getting doors slammed in our face quite a bit.
She would call a meeting. She wasn't afraid to step out and believe in what she wanted to tell us. And she had a message for us. And I appreciate that right now. There's not many people would do that, but she was brave enough to do it. I appreciate her for that.
We had a lot of things to fight for. So the right to vote, the right to have good jobs, the right to be represented on the commission, the right to have housing, everything was up for grabs at that point.
And while she was helping to remove barriers for African Americans in Alachua County, she was also breaking down professional barriers in her own career as the first African American professional to work at the Alachua County Courthouse and at the Alachua County Supervisor of Elections Office.
She really worked hard at making sure that people knew that we wanted them to be registered to vote. I know it meant a lot to her.
Ms. Higgins was so adamant about getting people registered to vote. As adamant as she was, she inspired others to do so.
It was so important to her that persons would use their God-given rights to be able to vote and voice your opinion.
Through it all, her faith and her love for people shone through.
She was like a
big mom and sister. She called everyone baby, so I was a baby.
When we met, I knew we would be good friends, but I never knew how close we would come. She became part of our family, and I'm sure others have told you, we all called her Mama.
Barbara was everybody's mama, black and white. She was a Christian, a true Christian.
Oh, everybody looked up to her at church. You know, Miss Barbara Higgins at church, because she was that sort of leader. She knew that within our spiritual life and within our life in the church came everything else.
She cared about other people, so that sometimes she would almost come to tears and cry about it because she really had a sense for other people.
She was just that warming, loving person. And then she always had that smile. That was a smile.
She had the sweetest, kindest smile and voice. She would tackle any issue, but she never had to raise her voice to do so. She was so dynamic in the way she presented herself that people stopped to listen and were led by her.
Barbara Higgins helped to build a better, more equitable community while helping to lay the foundations for a brighter future for all.
She was a community person. She had a message for us.
Equality, that was what she was all about.
Those were the kinds of things that she taught a person, was how to cooperate and deal with other people.
She taught me just leadership skills and to be a people person and to love and to care for others. She asked me to do a meeting. I said, Miss Barbara, I can't do it. She said, oh, baby, you could do it. Don't worry about it. And that's just how she impacted you. You couldn't tell her no.
At times, she would encourage you to even take positions and stand up and be courageous enough to not only take that position, but state it.
She understands the community, and she was able to affect change.
The legacy is being willing to fight through the vote for what we need and not letting it drop, not taking no for an answer, knowing what we need, going for it, and sticking with it.
It's hard to know Barbara Higgins and not leave there a better person, because that's the type thing she did. She made you a better person.
Mr. Chair, that's the announcement.
Thank you. Next, we have a proclamation declaring February 2nd of 2019 as Barbara L. Higgins Day here in Alachua County. Alachua County, Florida, a proclamation declaring February 2nd, 2019 as Barbara L. Higgins Day in Alachua County, Florida. Whereas Barbara L. Higgins was known for her kind spirit, she is noted for being the first black professional to work in the Alachua County Courthouse. Historically, this was a proud moment and marked the beginning of the Alachua County commitment to equal opportunity in employment. And whereas Barbara L. Higgins is a graduate of Gainesville, Florida Jones Grade School and Lincoln Elementary and Lincoln High School, class of 1943. She furthered her education and graduated from Bethune-Cookman College, class of 1947, Daytona Beach, Florida, where she earned her Bachelor's of Science degree in business. Whereas during the time of segregation in Gainesville, there were few opportunities for a woman of color to be a secretary of a executive in corporate Gainesville. And whereas she had the opportunity to serve in many capacities, such as administrative assistance, actuarial support for the Central Life Insurance Company, and the Alachua County Extension Office. Mrs. Higgins was the first black nurse assistant at Shands Hospital when it opened its doors to the public, And whereas in the Alachua County Supervisor Elections Office hired Mrs. Higgins as a Deputy Supervisor of Elections. She's known for going above and beyond to assist citizens before and after hours. She retired in 1984 with over 30 years of service to the county, 16 which is in the Alachua County Supervisor Elections Office. And whereas Mrs. Higgins was dedicated to serving people and dedicated over 4 decades of her life serving the civic organizations in positions of leadership in many of them. And whereas today we celebrate the life and legacy of Mrs. Barbara L. Higgins for many accomplishments and contributions to Alachua County, Florida. Now, therefore, through the authority vested in me by the Board of County Commissioners of Alachua County, Florida, I do hereby proclaim February 2nd, 2019 as Barbara L. Higgins Day in Alachua County, Florida. Duly proclaimed this 2nd day of February, AD 2019, signed by the chair, myself, and attested to Jess Irby, the clerk. And is there any family members that would like to make some comments?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, good morning, and staff. For the record, I'm Mac McDowell. I'm the husband of Yvonne, who is the daughter of Barbara Higgins. We live in Tampa, Florida. My wife and I started looking at this project about a year ago. We thought that we needed to honor this giant whose shoulders we all stand on. Many of us stand on her shoulders. And before I go with the rest of the comments, I would like to introduce the rest of the family members. I'm sure you know Commissioner Henry here, Albert White and Ora White, who are the nephews of the late Barbara Higgins. And of course, my wife will say a couple of words in a few moments. First, Mr. Chair, we want to thank your staff. I can't say enough for Mark Sexton, for his staff, Josh, and Alan. They went beyond the call of duty to make this video here. And we just applaud them. I wish we had employees like them, manager in Hillsborough County. We certainly can use them down there. But we thank you, Mark, we thank George, and we thank Alan. I didn't know them at first, and I didn't get to meet Mark until the day of the event. That's just how attentive they were to this particular project. So again, we thank them for that, and we thank you, Mr. Chair, for entertaining me back in September. I know I've been a pest to you and others, because we thought that it was important to meet with everyone here in Alachua County to get this project going. So after meeting you, Mr. Chair, I thought that God wanted us to do this. After leaving your office and going to the library and talking to the librarian and giving us permission to do this particular project, I knew we was on our way. So we thank you and we thank your staff, because there again, without your staff assistance, we wouldn't have been able to do this. Latoya has been just a jewel in helping us out during this process. Let me just quickly tell you how we got to where we are. Over the years, after I returned from Vietnam, there was a Reverend here, Reverend Wright, who is the late Reverend Wright, my brother-in-law. He talked about a lady who was working with him here in this county. I had told him that I wanted to do some work in my communities as God had brought me back safely from the war. So we talked quite a while, and he indicated that there was a lady working with him. I didn't know her at the time, but he said this lady was just a jewel. She helped him to work in the communities. She helped everybody that she saw. So from there on, I said, could I meet this lady? And I never did get a chance to meet her during that particular time. So as the wife and I talked over the years, we started talking about all the things that she had accomplished here in not only here in Florida, but throughout the country. I found out that there were things that she did for people. So after that, we decided that we wanted to press on and do this particular project, and it sort of came to fruition after meeting with the county, the city, and everyone else I could bug. We decided that this was the project that we needed to do. So with that, we start working on the video. I talked to University of Florida. By the way, they will be doing a documentary on Miss Barbara Higgins sometime later on this month, and of course Mark will be furnishing some of the information that he has. I just want to again emphasize the fact that this was a giant, and we want you to know that we appreciate all the help that we received. This could not have been done just by us alone. There was several individuals throughout the city, the county, and everywhere else that did this. And at this time, Mr. Chair, I would like to present you and the commissioners with a packet with some information concerning Ms. Higgins. Thank you. And now I'll let my wife come up and talk.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, thank you, and other commissioners and staff. I especially want to thank you for the opportunity to be here because I grew up in segregated Gainesville. I did not realize that there were any problems because we all stayed in our community and we did all of the things that we could do. And when I was reading the article this morning about the city and the county coming together to work on East Gainesville, I was very impressed because I know that there are needs there. I grew up in Sugar Hill, which is southeast Gainesville, and we'd walk to school and a lot of other things that we would do. But I had to join First Baptist Church in Lakeland and was a member there for 18 years. I'm still a member because I did not find myself doing what my mother did, and that was to cross the aisle. Most of her friends were black, most of her friends were white. She enjoyed teaming together. Let's get together, let's work this out. I can't do this by myself, I need you. And that was the mantra, that was her mission, and that became my mission. And having joined First Baptist Church in Lakeland, Florida, which is 99% white, I learned to love my white brothers and sisters, and I'm glad about it because what I found was what my mother found. We do well together, and let's continue to do that.